Next up, at UFC Qatar, we have the main event of the evening. We have Arman Tsarukyan taking on Dan Hooker, two guys that have not fought in a very long time, not only making their long-awaited returns, but doing so in a main event that might dictate the next title fight at lightweight. We have Arman Tsarukyan.
I think Dana said it was number one contender fight.
He officially said it was, but I mean, he changes. He also said Sean Brady and Michael Morales was, and watch Morales not get the next title shot. But I hear you. Arman Tsarukyan, 22-3 in his career, 4-1 in his last 5. He is riding that 4-fight win streak, taking on Dan Hooker, 22-3 in his career, 3-2 in his last 5 on a 3-fight win streak. Neither one of these gentlemen have fought in a little while, and that's because Arman didn't make weight, blamed it on a back injury. He got in the bad graces of the UFC, and Dan Hooker had a hand injury. I don't need to break down each fighter, but I will say, we all know Arman Tsarukyan, nonstop wrestler, good striking. Dan Hooker, an old school fighter. I'm actually going to give Dan Hooker some of his flowers here. When we think of some of the most exciting fighters in the history of the sport, there are some modern names that pop up. It's like the Dustin Poiriers, the Justin Gaethjes, the Max Holloways. Dan Hooker is in that category of fighter. He is exciting. He is a savage. He doesn't back down. He'll take his beat. Like, Dan Hooker is right there with those people, not necessarily with accomplishments, because all of them have been this close to becoming a world champion. Dustin Poirier was an interim champion, but Dan Hooker's right there as far as savagery is concerned. Dan Hooker also just won basically this exact same fight when he beat Gamrot. It's a fun fight. It's a mirror image of Hooker's last fight. And it could look identical. We could have Arman Tsarukyan have some early wrestling success, fade a little bit, and Dan Hooker take over late. Or we could have Arman Tsarukyan just drown Dan Hooker. And what makes this tricky to break down is Arman just beat Gamrot. And before 80% of the people, like you did in the quick pick video, say, or Dan Hooker beat Gamrot. And a bunch of people were like, well, Arman's not Gamrot. Arman's not Gamrot. Yeah, no shit, he lost to Gamrot. It's almost as if you guys didn't know that. The amount of comments of people saying Arman's much better than Gamrot. They fought and he lost recently in the last couple of years. The difference, I will say, though, is that Arman has better control than Gamrot does. Gamrot lets you squirrel up, lets you move. There is space. Arman drowns you. It's boring, but he drowns you. I am going to pick Arman for that reason. I think he gets the takedowns. I don't think Dan Hooker's able to scramble out the same way that he was against Mateusz Gamrot. Arman doesn't desperately shoot either. He will engage the striking for a little bit. Arman's going to be the pick here. I don't know if I agree with 5-1. I really don't know. Because Dan Hooker's a straight up dog, and this is 25 full minutes. What do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, I honestly wanted to pick Dan, and I actually did pick Dan. I watched that Gamrot fight. Anybody that just watches that Gamrot fight, they're gonna be like, oh, Dan can do this, man. As you mentioned, like he defended some takedowns. He was able to out scramble. Dan has mentioned before, hey, I'm a black belt. I just never really show it. Like, I know what I'm doing on the ground and stuff like that. And you can survive when you're a black belt. You can know how to scramble and stuff like that. But you nailed it in the fact that Arman is not Gamrot. Gamrot is a guy that he gets takedowns. You never see Gamrot just laying on somebody. You never see Gamrot in half guard just raining elbows down. You never see Gamrot in full mount doing this or that. You have seen Arman in that situation. This feels like it's going to be like the fucking whatever fight, like where he gets a takedown and just starts just beating the bloody fucking hell out of this guy. The Joel Alvarez, where people were like, oh, like Joel's big and he's this and that, and he knows how to grapple and stuff like that. And
fuck Joel Alvarez.
Yeah, and then Arman just took him down and just elbowed him once. And I mean, Arman is a guy that he can be boring at times, especially against a guy like Charles Oliveira, because he's like so dangerous with his guard and stuff like that. But Dan Hooker isn't going to have like a crazy dangerous guard. I don't think people are like, oh, we're going to get back-to-back fights where Bilal could be laying on whatever, and then Arman's going to be laying on that. Arman's not really a laying the half guard type of guy. Like, he's a little bit more aggressive than that. He likes to throw the elbows.
Yeah, he did that with Charles, but Charles is Charles.
Yeah, that's why thank you for.
I'm reinforcing your point.
Is there a fucking echo in here? Yeah, he's probably going to get on top. He's probably going to be able to pass guard. He's probably going to be able to do whatever he wants to Dan Hooker on the ground. And you know, when you're Charles Oliveira and you're just in guard and you're just playing the guard game, you know you can stay safe. It's when you're scrambling to get back to your feet, which I have no doubt in my mind, Dan Hooker is not going to play the guard game. He's going to be trying to get his hips out. He's going to be trying to get out, and he's going to be trying to get back to his feet. That's when you're making mistakes. That's when you're taking damage. That's when the submission attempts happen. So as much as I like Dan Hooker, as much as I would love to see him come in and get this huge win and all this type of stuff, and both these guys, as you can see, are 22-3. Stupid fucking Angelo. I think Arman's good enough in the striking, but definitely can get the takedowns. When he gets the takedowns, I think the unwillingness, stay with me here, the unwillingness of Dan Hooker to stay on the ground will eventually be his downfall. Like if he just stays safe, he might be able to stay safe, but he's going to want to kick at the hips. He's going to want to try and get separation, get back to his feet, and that's when the mistakes happen, and that's when you take punishment. And that's probably where Arman gets the job done. So I got to go Arman here. I wanted to pick Dan, and honestly, with Lock of the Week, I was like, oh, man, imagine. But
people would hate you for it. I have not seen anybody picking Dan Hooker. Yeah, we get a good feel for how people are with the, in the comments of the quick picks and stuff like that. Like just the general vibe. I haven't seen any Dan Hooker sympathy. Like nobody's on that side. Literally nobody. The co-main event's a little different. There are some Bilal people, but this fight, there are no Dan Hooker people whatsoever. Even in this chat right now, there are no Dan Hooker people whatsoever. I don't think there are any.
Dan wins with Black Magic.
I mean, that's like Alex Bejeda. The odds are pretty wide.
Why are you on Bilal?
I went back too far. The odds are pretty wide, but I do think it's closer than this. Like Arman should win this fight. I'm picking him to win. I believe I've got him in a little bit of a parlay, but I think Dan Hooker does deserve some respect given his body of work and the fact that he's an absolute dog. Arman Tsarukyan did make weight. That's important to note. Obviously, he did not make weight last January when he was supposed to fight Islam. That's the one fight that got away at lightweight, in my opinion. Arman versus Islam would have been a great fight. Arman pulled out of that fight the night before, blamed it on his back. Pissed off the UFC. The UFC shelved him. What event did he make weight for? Ilya at 317, Ilya and Charles. He did. He made weight as the backup to get back in their good graces. After he did that, then the UFC was like, okay, fine. Here's your event. And now here he is. So Jacob and I both on the same side. We both understand that Dan Hooker's kind of a tough night for anybody. That's the breakdown, guys. If you want to go to the website, you want to support the boys, and
like the video,
get a whole bunch of shit. Go to wewantpicks.com, click become a member at the top. It's freaking $10. You get the entire world.